Imagine a prince who had everything, but then couldn't stop farting. This is the story of Prince Kosi, whose pride led to a very stinky lesson. In the rich and busy land of Isolo, lived Prince Kosi. He had everything. Nice clothes, shiny jewels, and people who always told him how great he was. Kosi truly thought he was special because he was handsome and a prince. His biggest worry was making sure he always looked perfect. One morning, as his helpers fanned him and shined his golden shoes, Kosi sighed. "Is this all? My food isn't exciting enough. And this shirt? Is it really the best silk? It feels plain. Why is everything so boring today? Hurry up. I have a big walk to do." He tapped his foot, telling his helpers to go faster. Prince Kosi didn't know that his perfect world was about to get very messy. The big walk was supposed to help the prince meet his people, but Kosi just saw it as a boring job. He was thinking about his next meal, not the people in the busy market he was passing through. The market was full of life. People called out, children laughed, and the air smelled of spices and fresh food. Kosi sat high on his special chair, looking down at the villagers like they were not important. Then, an old woman named Mama Ngozi, who was bent with age, was carrying a big basket of nuts and shea butter. She tripped on a rough stone. Her basket fell, and everything inside spilled onto the dirty path, right in front of Kosi's chair. The walk stopped. People gasped, and some wanted to help Mama Ngozi, but Kosi stopped them. He sneered, his voice loud and mean. "Ugh, what is this block? Watch where you are going, old hag. Your clumsiness makes the royal path dirty. Get out of the way, you old problem. You smell of dirt, not royalness." Mama Ngozi slowly looked up from her spilled goods. Her eyes were old and deep, and they looked right at Kosi. There was no anger, just a deep, sad wisdom. For a moment, the air felt heavy and quiet. The villagers looked down, feeling shame for their prince, or maybe fear. Kosi waved his hand like it was nothing, and his group moved on, leaving Mama Ngozi on the ground. His mean words stayed in the air, but Mama Ngozi said nothing. She just looked at him, and because of her quiet wisdom, something bad began to grow. Kosi didn't notice, and he kept going, already forgetting what happened. That night, there was a big fancy dinner at the palace. Kosi was enjoying all the attention. Then, he felt a strange rumble deep inside him. He froze, his eyes wide. He tried to hold it in, pressing his legs together, his face turning a bit red. A small, quiet poof came out. He quickly coughed loudly to cover it up. "Ahem, just a little tickle in my throat, you see," he told a guest nearby, who quietly sniffed the air and raised an eyebrow. But the tickle would not go away. It got louder, more urgent. Soon, Prince Kosi's tries to stay proper became a losing fight. In a quiet meeting, a loud fart came out, shaking a glass. During a parade, another one made a candle flame jump. While taking a formal picture, a huge loud fart made the artist jump. Kosi tried silly ways to stop them, holding his breath until his face turned purple, sitting very stiff, holding his jaw tight. But each time, a loud fart would escape. The quiet sniffs turned into choked gasps. The raised eyebrows turned into wide-eyed stares. The palace was starting to smell, not like a palace at all. The kingdom's pride was slowly becoming a kingdom-wide joke. Royal events were ruined, and talks with other lands were hard. Guests ran from meeting rooms holding sweet-smelling cloths to their noses. Helpers quickly sprayed perfume and burned incense, but it only made a new bad smell. Prince Kosi was not just ashamed. He was a walking, living, stinky disgrace. He was sad and alone, trying to hide. He tried to sleep under his bedsheets, but they puffed up funny before a muffled burp. He'd pull the sheets over his head, feeling hopeless. When he tried to do a royal dance, his movements were broken by farts. When he read a royal order, each important word came with a loud noise. In a game of checkers, his farts even knocked over the pieces. The king and queen felt very bad. "My king," the queen sighed, "my son is a moving scandal. The kingdom, it smells of his shame." The king, with his head in his hands, cried, "What else can we do? The doctors don't know, and the plant experts are useless," because they were so desperate. The king and queen called for every famous doctor and plant expert in the land. First came the royal doctor, who was very proud and thought he was the best. He made Kosi eat lots of black charcoal. Kosi's teeth turned black, but he let out a loud, smoky fart. "Ah," the doctor proudly said. "The charcoal soaks up all the bad stuff. He will be clean." Kosi burped, then let out another loud, smoky fart. The doctor stammered, "More charcoal." Next, the chief plant expert came, with strange, bad-smelling liquids. He made Kosi drink a huge, steaming cup of green, bubbly liquid. Kosi gagged, then burped loudly, and right after, a truly terrible-sounding fart came out. He held his stomach. "It burns," Kosi cried. "It burns and it gets bigger." Even the strange palace magician, with his odd chants and dances, was called. He did a silly, wild dance around Kosi, chanting words. Kosi, looking pained, found himself farting in time with the magician's moves. "By the spirits of the wind, go away, bad air," the magician chanted, breathing hard. Kosi farted perfectly in time. Thump. The magician stopped, looking tired. "Well, maybe more dancing is needed from him." Finally, Kosi was wrapped tightly in bandages and ropes, looking like a mummy. He groaned, then a huge building fart sound came. The bandages puffed out, then comically burst open with a pop, sending Kosi falling. The king and queen looked completely beaten. Every medicine, every drink, every strange ritual failed badly. The farts, instead of stopping, seemed to get stronger, louder, and more creative. The palace was filled with shame, and the royal family had no ideas left. A trusted royal helper then carefully suggested, "Your Majesties, there is one more person, an old woman from the village, Mama Ngozi. Her wisdom is not from books or plants, but from the old ways, the spirits." Kosi, looking messy, burst in, desperate. Hearing this, his face twisted in dislike. "Mama Ngozi? An old village woman? What could she possibly know that your fine palace experts do not? This is old magic nonsense. I am a prince, not some villager to be fixed by village cures." Just as Kosi finished speaking, a loud fart like a horn came out, making him blush deep red. The king and queen sighed loudly. "Prince," the king said strictly to Kosi, "you have lost your royal grace. Maybe it's time you lost your pride too. We're desperate. Mama Ngozi will come." Kosi slumped, beaten, as another small fart escaped. He agreed, but he didn't like it. Mama Ngozi came to the palace. She wasn't wearing fancy clothes, but simple, old traditional ones. She walked with quiet importance. The busy palace seemed to quiet down when she was there. Kosi watched her, feeling both dislike and desperate hope. She sat calmly, not touching Kosi or looking at his body, but watching him with knowing eyes. Mama Ngozi closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them, looking straight at Kosi. Her gaze was sharp and saw through Kosi's pride. "Your sickness, prince," she said in a calm, steady voice, "is not of your body. It is of your spirit. The air you push out is not just gas. It is the raw, bad breath of your own disrespect." Kosi's eyes got wide with shock. He tried to argue, but a loud, angry fart burst out, seeming to prove her right. But what disrespect?" he stammered, pointing a finger. Mama Ngozi raised a hand, stopping him. She looked at him, then quietly pointed towards the village, as if seeing something only she could see. "The old ones are the roots of our great tree, Prince Kosi. They hold the wisdom of many years, the blessings of our ancestors, and the very spirit of this land. When you are rude to an elder, you are not just rude to a person. You are rude to the very ground your kingdom stands on. You are rude to the ancestors who watch over us." Kosi suddenly remembered his sneering face in the market, followed by Mama Ngozi's sad, wise eyes. A new wave of farts, louder and more desperate, came out of him, as if the shame was literally being pushed out. Mama Ngozi's voice was firm but kind. "The rumbling you hear, the bad air that fills your palace, is the sound of the ancestors' deep unhappiness. It is the land itself showing its anger at your pride. You filled the air with your pride, and now the spirits fill you with their offended breath. It is because you were rude to Mama Ngozi in the market." Kosi's face lost all color. The farts kept coming, but he no longer tried to hide them. He looked truly scared, shocked by the truth. "Mama Ngozi," he whispered, now truly humble. Mama Ni did not give him medicine. Instead, she told him a way to fix things, a way of humility. Prince Kosi had to face what his words had done, not in a royal room, but in the dusty village he had so easily dismissed. Kosi, now without his fancy clothes, wore simple village clothes. He looked clumsy and a bit funny, but there was real fear and humbleness in his eyes. He walked alone towards the village, still letting out small, soft farts, no longer loud, but like quiet, nervous puffs. He came to Mama Ngozi's simple house. He looked nervous. Mama Ngozi was sitting outside, quietly mending a net. She looked up as he came close. Her face showed no clear feeling. Mama Ngozi, Kosi stammered, his voice shaking a little. I came to say sorry. My words that day, they were mean. They came from my pride and not knowing better. I am truly sorry for disrespecting you and the spirit within you. Mama Ngozi just watched him. Kosi, desperate, kept talking. Mama Ni said, she said my problem is from my pride. And I believe her. Please, tell me how I can make it right. I will do anything. Mama Ngozi slowly, with a small hand movement, pointed to her empty water pot, then to a path leading to a far-off well. Kosi looked at the pot, then the path. He clearly wasn't used to hard work. He nodded, determined. Actions, Mama Ngozi seemed to say, are more important than words. Kosi started doing jobs for Mama Ngozi. He struggled in a funny but real way, trying to carry the heavy water pot, spilling some, his muscles hurting, clumsily grinding grain with a heavy stick, getting flour on his face, sweeping her yard, making a mess at first but slowly getting better at it. While he did these jobs, the farts came less and less often, and got softer and softer, until they were almost silent. He was sweating, tired, but a new look of strong will and real care grew on his face. With every real effort, every drop of sweat, Kosi was washing away his pride, grinding down his arrogance. And with that, the problem he had began to fade. Kosi, now tired but feeling a new peace, finished sweeping Mama Ngozi's yard. He wiped sweat from his face. He looked at her, waiting for her to say something. Mama Ngozi slowly stood up. She walked over to Kosi. She said nothing. She simply placed a gentle, knowing hand on his shoulder and gave him a small, simple piece of fruit from her own basket. Her eyes, now softer, showed that she accepted him and had quiet wisdom. At that exact moment, as her hand touched him, the last tiny, almost silent poof of gas quietly disappeared. A deep feeling of peace and lightness filled Kosi. He took a deep breath, truly free for the first time in weeks. He looked at Mama Ngozi, his eyes full of real thanks, respect, and new wisdom. Thank you, Mama Ngozi, he said, his voice full of feeling, truly humble. Thank you. Prince Kosi went back to the palace a changed man. The farts were gone, but the lesson stayed with him. He ruled, not with pride, but with wisdom, kindness, and deep respect for his people, his elders, and the old ways of his land. The kingdom of Isolo grew strong under his rule, built on respect and humbleness. And while the story of the prince, who couldn't stop farting, was told for many years, it was always with a funny chuckle and a quiet, strong reminder. True importance comes not from being born a prince, but from the respect we show to everyone, especially those who hold the wisdom of our ancestors. And what caused it? The shocking truth of a prince who had forgotten to be humble.